And for more, we're joined by our own Nadia Massi. The killing of this police chief, General Abdul Razik, it creates, can we go so far as to say, creates a power vacuum in Kandahar?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can. He was probably the most influential person in southern Afghanistan. His influence extended far beyond the Kandahar province, of which he was the police chief. He was kind of the figurehead of the anti-Taliban movement in Afghanistan. He was really seen as the person who was able to guarantee security in that city that was, of course, the birthplace of the Taliban. So his death is a major victory for militants there. I'd note that they've tried to kill him apparently as many as 20 times. It's worth pointing out, though, the Taliban so far, they haven't provided any actual evidence that they were the ones who were responsible for those guns fired yesterday. But to an extent, that doesn't really matter at this point. This remains a major symbolic and strategic win for the Taliban. Symbolically, because he'd been targeted so many times, Abdul Razik was seen as a man who was almost invincible. And so to kill him in this way is a major propaganda win for the Taliban. Strategically, we've seen them in the past couple of months gain ground around Kandahar province, inch towards that provincial capital. And with him gone, given he had such an important security role, we may well see them be able to advance still further. Now, it is worth pointing out that he is not a figure without controversy. He's being accused of all kinds of human rights abuses as well as corruption. And despite that hesitancy, though, he did work with the United States. He was funded, him and his followers, to the tunes of millions of dollars in equipment and in training because they were convinced he helped make southern Afghanistan much safer. So there are real concerns now. With him gone, what happens now to security in the south of the country?
What happens to security in the country? And as we saw in that report, you have on the one hand, these elections that are taking place elsewhere in Afghanistan. On the other hand, the United States speaking with the Taliban.
Yeah, that's right. Look, this is a big couple of weeks then for Afghanistan. You have this election, which was supposed to be held all over the country tomorrow. As you said, in Kandahar province, that's been postponed. And we are hearing reports that within the city today, the situation is very tense. Special forces have been deployed on the streets of Kandahar. And I think there are two big questions going forward now. One is, will Kandahar, remember that was the city that was the birthplace of the Taliban, be able, in a week's time, having postponed the vote, be able to safely hold a vote there? And secondly, will this destabilise voting across the rest of the country while these peace talks are trying to get underway with the Taliban? These elections really seen as a key test of the administration of Ashraf Ghani in Kabul, and really they've been struggling. This is the first national election in Afghanistan since the NATO combat mission came to an end in 2014, and that's meant the onus of providing security is almost entirely on Afghan forces, and frankly, they've been struggling. Hundreds of Afghanis have been killed in the run-up to this poll. 10 people running for election have been specifically targeted here. But you mentioned the United States. We've heard, at least from the US Secretary of Defense, James Mattis, he's insisting that actually perhaps this death is not going to radically destabilize the country. He said that Afghan security forces have matured and that they will be able to keep the country safe during elections tomorrow. So we'll have to see whether or not some of that confidence that we're hearing from Washington is going to be borne out when those polls open in most of the country tomorrow.
Nadia Massi, many thanks for that update.